they find these genes that different methods, and they're blazing, it goes up, it goes down. They can't explain it. So I'm being old fashioned, but what does this really mean? So you got this gene that I've never heard of. I have to look it up. And okay, old fashioned, but what's the biological basis? What does this actually tell you about the development of marbling or anything else?
Welcome to the Beef Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast, brought to you by Wisenetics. I'm Zach Smith, Associate Professor at South Dakota State, and we're dedicated to bringing you the latest insights and discussions in the beef industry. I'm excited to be joined here today by Dr. Stephen Smith. Dr. Smith has been involved in the animal science industry since the early 80s and has been really a global leader in understanding the molecular and physiological mechanisms of enhancing marbling in beef cattle. I really quickly want to ask you about what you've seen in your, nearly at least 46-year experience in the beef industry, pushing up on 50, and just the change in cattle type. Obviously, we're feeding cattle to more advanced weights. We've also, since about 2016, my quick query of the beef grading dashboard, it's a tool from the USDA, says that we've nearly tripled the amount of prime carcasses in the last decade. So what's your take on that? Is it increased size of cattle, obviously changes in genetics, better nutritional programs? And what do you think that does when we think about U.S. beef across the world? Obviously, it enhances our palatability, consumer acceptability, but what do you think the future is now that we've gone from 5% prime to 15? Can we double that again yet? Or what do you think are some big hangups that we could look at as researchers to continue to enhance our trajectory in marbling development?
You said that the three major factors, the time on feed, of course. The Japanese feed their cattle even longer and longer. So
right.
Japanese friends calls it stupid beef. Because it's too fat. So there's time on feed on the corn-based diet, or better nutrition and better genetics. And so I don't know how heavy we can get our carcasses, but there's always room for improvement.
Sure. No.
To your point, I went in about a year and a half ago and said, I hate to say this, but you're retiring. And the department head said, that's great. Somebody needs your office. No. He did say, you've worked your way out of a career. I mean, because everything is marbling. And as you say, prime's going up because of better management. At my age, I thought, okay, my techniques are kind of obsolete. I'm really not as competitive as young people are, new techniques and everything. And my grant didn't get funded. I said, okay, so, it's been a good run, but I mean, everything's marbling. So it's like, it's time to retire, let somebody new take over and have new ideas. And it's certainly a young minds, and let them take over. And again, it's been a fun run, and marbling opened the door to visit a lot of countries. I love learning culture, languages, just everything about and the food.
No, I think when you think about that and talk about putting yourself out of a job, when I started my career, I looked back to the guy that had this job before me. He started here in '82, left Lubbock, Texas, came to South Dakota, and in his career, beef carcasses increased in weight from 600 pounds carcass weight to 900 pounds. And I sat there thinking, well, what in the world am I going to be able to do? And since I've been involved in my job, carcass weights have gone from 900 pounds to 1,000 pounds in an 8-year period. And so the trajectory is up. there's always something new that we can get creative with and figure out how to better manage cattle. One last quick question I have for you is actually in relation to just a research philosophy. So obviously you picked something, you stuck with it. Were there ever temptations to abandon ship, or you stayed pretty committed to marbling development? You saw a lot of change in methods. You think back to when you got started, you were probably running Westerns and Northern blots to now where people can do RNA-seq, metabolomics, other genomic approaches. How does that work when you're sitting there and you're like, I'm really good at this one thing? You had to learn some new tricks in your bag throughout your career, correct?
We worked a lot with beta agonists early on, and we actually cloned and used the cDNA to Northerners and slot blots to see how you increase what beta agonists actually do to muscle. Really focused on. I did a lot of stuff, and late in the career, I focused in on the health effects. So I narrowed my focus, became more practical, which is good. And but one kind of caveat, I review a lot of papers, and they find these genes that different methods, and they're blazing. It goes up, it goes down, but they can't explain it. So I'm being old-fashioned, but what does this really mean? So you got this gene that I've never heard of. I have to look it up. And old-fashioned, but what's the biological basis? What does this actually tell you about the development of marbling or anything else?
Oh, that's a great point.
Well, I'm talking like my son would say, "Oh, okay, boomer."
Yeah, boomer. But when you think about it, it's the computational tools, the ability to get new information at your fingertips from genomic work. But a lot of times, just when you think about the central dogma of molecular biology, increased gene expression doesn't always translate to more protein, and the protein is what causes the biological effect. So I run across that all the time. Everybody's looking at these genes, but they don't take the next step to see if that transcribed gene that we see a greater abundance of actually translated into more protein. And then what's the biological impact of that? So finally, I know you spent your whole career in one academic position aside from the postdoc. Do you got an estimate of how many students that you had in the classroom? I know, you were a part of that group that taught growth and development to multiple institutions. I was lucky enough to take that class in grad school at South Dakota State. In fact, I still got my notes right there. I should have put it down to prepare for our talk today. And I even had students that came to my program from Texas A&M that took a class that you taught to graduate students just about the biology of fat. So what do you think the impact of at least students in class, this kind of putting you on the spot here, but then that impact and then the students that those students trained? I think everybody in the animal science business has in some way been influenced by you, whether you know it or not.
Okay. That's my head is swelling. As for numbers, I taught grad classes at A&M for 42 years. And grad classes, some as few as 10, maybe up to 30. And I had a muscle class, a fat class. That is my life.
Fat class. That's what the kids always called it when I talked to them, the fat class.
Well, I'm the fat man on campus, or I was. And and I did a physiological chem class last 10 years. So I had 3 grad classes. I don't know how many students.
No, probably so. Hey, I got an old physiological chemistry book that I purchased off Amazon probably 1 month into my graduate career. It was an old Lang biochem book.
Oh.
I paid 75 cents for it. It was a pretty good investment. I need to get it rebound.
Feed formulation software is stuck in the past. Most tools haven't evolved beyond basic least cost optimization. A Diet Forge changes that. It's an AI-powered platform with nonlinear ingredient modeling for enzymes and additives. cost per gain and maximum profit optimization, and real-time collaboration like Google Docs for nutrition. Every recommendation is grounded in world-class research, built for modern nutritionists who need more than legacy desktop software can deliver. Work seamlessly with your team and optimize the way modern operations demand. Try dietforge.ai free today. Feed formulation, finally modernized.
It was really great to get to catch back up. I remember having you in class. You made quite a few trips to Lubbock. We were able to come see you at LCU, and the work you've done, your research from really basic understanding of how marbling, substrate preferences, all the way to feeding the product to consumers has been really beneficial. And I think you've been a part of what I'd call a total re-equilibration of the value of beef away from just a commodity product to a value-added product. And that work is, we're going to survive off that, because when people choose to eat beef, they don't choose it because it's the cheapest protein. They choose it because it's the tastiest protein. And we've got a lot of you great scientists that came before us to think about that. So any concluding thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I'm going to say one of my favorite jokes. As an animal scientist, if you get into human research, you're going to find that humans hate squeeze chutes, and the carcass is really hard to grade.
That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate the time with you today, Dr. Smith, and just really enjoyed our time together today. Well, that concludes another episode of the Beef Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast presented by Wyzenetics. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review, because your feedback is invaluable to all of us. Until next time, this is Zach Smith from the Beef Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast, signing off.
Thanks, Zach.